Like most people, I am indeed quite shocked that Boris has managed to survive so long, especially from the past 2 weeks and the revelations that are continuing. Apparently, we are again scheduled next week for more revelations. And of course, we've heard many MPs are saying that they are waiting for the Sue Gray report to see how bad it really is before they actually send their letters in. So we have a showdown coming. And I've said this before, there is going to be a massive, almost Tory infighting in this leadership contest, the likes of which we haven't seen before. And it is going to be split along ideological grounds between the Brexiteers, the libertarians of the party, the free market fundamentalists versus those who think they should level up the country, those who believe in global Britain, those who believe in a more modest, foreign policy. All sorts of different ideological battlegrounds are going to be fought when Boris Johnson goes. And of course, it is now, I think, a matter of when. But I will say this: remember, Boris Johnson has survived scandals and career killers that have completely destroyed the the history and what, like, the complete, shall we say, political jobs of many, shall we say, far more competent politicians. And we will have to see, obviously, how this week goes. But trust me, if Johnson does go this week, expect a massive showdown, the likes of which we haven't seen for quite some time in this country. But before we do begin, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So, on with the show. So, today's story comes from The Guardian, and the title is, "If Johnson is ousted, expect a showdown between Tory MPs and the party faithful." Boris Johnson's fall is not yet a fact, but it grows more likely by the hour. The true hue and cry resumed at full throttle on Wednesday morning when the Christian Wakefield Conservative MP for the Red Wall marginal seat, Bury South, who had been the regional chief of the Back Boris campaign back in 2019, defected to Labour. 30 minutes later, David Davis quoted Leo Amery, who was quoting Oliver Cromwell, telling Neville Chamberlain in 1940, "In the name of God, go. No leader can indefinitely survive these levels of assault." And assuming it now takes place, there are two important things to keep in mind about the 2022 Conservative leadership election. The first is that the many twists this extraordinary story may not have been all exhausted. The experience of recent Tory leadership contests suggests that we should expect the unexpected. There are many possibilities, and Johnson could even preempt a confidence vote by the uncharacteristic act of resigning. He may even decide to walk away from number 10 immediately, presumably leaving Dominic Raab as temporary Prime Minister and boosting the Justice Secretary's otherwise slim chancellors. One or more leadership candidates may also pull out unexpectedly, as Johnson and Andrea Leadsom did in 2016, opening the way for Theresa May's win. And improbably, the Tory party could unite behind Rishi Sunak without a vote, as it did behind Michael Howard in the opposition back in 2003. And the second, if the election process runs its full course, it is this that will produce the first change of leader of its kind in British political history. Never before would a Prime Minister have been forced out by his or her own party by MPs and then been replaced by a new Prime Minister chosen by the party members. That scenario is stuffed full of political dynamite, and it could be a brilliant, game-changing success, but it could just as well be an absolute disaster. There are no precedents. One thing, though, is sure. If Johnson loses the vote of no confidence, for which his MPs are now sending in letters, he would certainly be out. He cannot contest the leadership election that would follow. Not even Johnson can break the rule. This is what happened to Ian Duncan Smith as leaders of the opposition in 2003. But it never happened to a serving Tory Prime Minister. The last three Tory Prime Ministers who lost power mid-term all did so by resigning. Each quit because the writing was on the wall. Margaret Thatcher decided not to contest her second round of the 1990 contest in order to open the way for someone else, i.e. John Major, as it turned out, and to stop Michael Heseltine. David Cameron stepped down after losing the vote to leave the European Union in 2016. And although May survived a confidence vote the previous December, she was forced to quit in May of 2019 as the Tory party fell apart over her Brexit strategy. To kick the Prime Minister out in a vote of no confidence is a very big call indeed. It would be a damning verdict on Johnson personally and of his great man view of history and himself. He might not even hang around in the Commons, triggering a very losable by-election in Uxbridge. His rejection could even cause him to become bitter in his old age, as did Ted Heath's did in 1975. And even more significantly, it could entrench long-lasting political divisions in the Tory ranks, as like the fall of Robert Peel did in 1846. There would be implications for the party political realignment here. And of course, the immediate question about what matters is whether ousting of the Johnson will outrage the party membership. There is every reason to expect this, and MPs need to be prepared for it. Judging by the Tories' recent leadership contests, this would be at least the third in 6 years. There will again be lots of candidates, not surprising. This with the Premiership as a prize. And 8 tried to enter the race in 2016, 13 tried again in 2019. With no overwhelming favourite this time, there would be yet another crowded field as MPs seek to the window to the contest of the final 2 for whom the membership will choose. Conventionally, of course, political parties in revolt against themselves do tend to choose the opposite kind of leader to the one that they just got rid of. Johnson rather than May is a classic example of this. And further back, Major rather than Thatcher is another. That might point to Rishi Sunak this time as the candidate with the most skills that Johnson lacks, or to suggest that Jeremy Hunt would indeed be within with a chance. This doesn't obviously take into account the crucial and ideological differences between the largely southern, largely old, largely white membership of many of the Mary parliamentarians. For that reason, the candidates who, of course, who can claim to be picking up the populist standard from Johnson may do best is indeed Liz Truss, and is indeed the initial front runner, judging by the membership surveys. But Priti Patel will see this contest as her best shot too. And watch out for Steve Baker, who may decide that his organisation skills to beat just Liz Truss among other MPs. Baker will then offer himself to the membership not only as the candidate who can be guaranteed to save Brexit and prevent Nigel Farage from mounting a comeback. And again, that's quite scary if again Steve Baker, because oh my, we will have to cover him later on, and we will be covering him later on, today in fact. So much of this will also rest on the length of the contest and timing. The 2019 contest took nearly 2 months before Johnson was confirmed the winner. If this one does the same, the candidates will have to juggle their responses to anything from a new COVID variant to the price of energy, to trying to sort the Northern Ireland Protocol before the May elections, or even a Russian invasion of Ukraine. Sunak is still probably the best bet in this race, but I do not believe anyone who claims they know for certain that where this is all leading, because they don't. And I agree. This upcoming Conservative leadership contest could go one of either ways. Now, I've said the smart bets are Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. Those are the smart bets. But as we saw in previous elections, this could be an entirely wide open field. There could be lots of contenders throwing in their hats. And of course, depending how this contest goes, depending what happens and responses that they give, it could be anyone's game to play. And it could be, if anything, very, very interesting to watch, because you are going to see some real blue on blue action. So with that said, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next.